Okay, we're going to get started with our grand entry today. If there's any directors or acting directors, please make your way to the doors and we shall get started. Rachel also told me we are now live. We're live streaming. So be on our best behavior. Just kidding. Okay, play. Whenever you're ready to start. Start it. We're going to start with a short video here before the grand entry. So you turn your attention to the big screens.
Welcome to Lighting the Fire 2023. This year, we hope to break through to excellence in First Nation education. The Lighting the Fire conference explores the tools, resources, and teaching approaches that promotes excellence in First Nation schools. Help us seek excellence in everything that can improve the learning experience in First Nation students. Lighting the Fire helps the Resource Center and MFNSS sit on the forward edge of education with the tools it uses and the strategies and teaching it promotes. We hope to push through the limits on education, not only by forwarding teaching skills and the revitalization of First Nation cultures, but by providing cutting-edge services in administration, clinical services, and technology. Join us in our quest to break through to excellence in First Nation education.
Did you want him to come in on the first song or the second song? The first verse or second? Yeah.
Daga Nibowik, please stand. Thank you, and please remain standing. We're going to have a flag song here next. Jimmy Rich, Walking Wolf Singers. So at this moment now, I'd like to, we would like to call up Elder Philip Painter for an opening prayer. I'm Bill Ma. Yeah, up here.
So Ego sani tono sa isia peo pe nagiskoy ni sini no ka kini gono ta gani montuma a te pe menose te pe menu ichigo ka kini gon kai pe kisno maste George sana go tini gani ego sani tono ma uta ka pe pia au meno isko isko au visto te pe kistenta go se go tini gani ego ni Kiskno Matic, the Hot Tossabitana. Awena who Napiok, Avisto, Pogosanamon, Agosisto to be Kiskno Taigua, Kiskno Taigua Hook, the Kiskno Matic, Visto, which was a Meso, Tuscany War, was Kessi Matisic, was Mamitrensigati. Awena de Ivetro, au tago pistuana chega betago se ego sande to pape vichiga pues tago au mina kagino ute ne no tene kapse como sumino mino ego sande to pogo sen mutape visto de betago se ute tape to tago si te skago Misioma, Mutaga Kavidutama, Egsani Tomino, Utagai Pistugasamach, Egsani.
Miigwech, Philip, and thank you everybody for your attention too, because we do these things and be quiet for a few minutes to allow Spirit to look in on us and see what we're doing and what we're asking for at when we do these drum groups and when we have our opening ceremonies with the pipe ceremony, and that's what we're asking for. I have one little announcement. Do we have the essay contest winners in the room? And if we do, can you come up to the front here so we can get you set up with a couple details? And so great to see everybody here and still filtering in. I'd like to call up. I'd like to call up our acting associate executive director, Davin Dumas, to make some opening remarks and welcome everybody here today.
Good morning. Hanin Bojua Kina, Davin Dumas, Dijnikas, Kawikwendonga, Kendonji. Achani Minandam, Maya Nogom, to be a Donoma Nogom. It's my pleasure and my honor to greet all of you here today on behalf of MFNERC and our executive director, Charles Cochran, who unfortunately could not be with us this week, but he did leave a video message, which we'll play in a minute or so. But I do want to acknowledge Elder Painter this morning for the pipe ceremony and Elder Florence Painter for the water ceremony this morning to start us off in a good way. I want to acknowledge all of our leadership that is here, our dignitaries, our elders, and of course, all of you, all our participants. What you may not be aware of is this is our biggest lighting the fire ever. So the last I heard, which was a couple of days ago, we had over 1,440 people registered to attend the conference. So that's that's a great thing. So I want everybody to give yourselves a round of applause for coming out. So at this time, I'd like to play the video from our executive director, who wanted to bring greetings, but like I said, is unable to be with us today.
Bonjour, Ani. Charles Cochran Nishnikas, Kap Mashing Mekesen, the Nishnabe Wizwin. Upchigichina and no Mamasago, Hanabadabian, Upchaskichina and Anishnabe Young, Anishnabe Mon, Kaka Quick Ejungon so Singichina and Dan. My name is Charles Cochran. I'm the Executive Director of Manitoba First Nation Education Resource Center. And in my language, I've given my Anishinaabe name, and my Anishinaabe name is Flying Bald Eagle. I am from the Ebb and Flow First Nation and very proud of that. I'm also a very proud language speaker and a proud Anishinaabe. What I want to do is say thank you for everybody that's here this morning. I do want to acknowledge the pipe ceremony through Elder Painter, as well as the opening prayer being provided by the elder. I say Gachimi wech to that. Gachinenda what waso Anishinaabe ang Anishinaabe moang waso numa moang mutabing. So today I do want to express my sincere regret for not being able to participate here today and here this week. I am taking advantage of a great opportunity. I am actually studying at Harvard University this week and very happy for that. Unfortunately, it just happens to be at the same time as this great conference. But that being said, you will see me here and there at every conference from here on in. But for this time, I send my regrets. I do want to actually provide certainly the message that we welcome everybody here. We want everybody here to network. We want everybody here to have fun, to learn, to express their thoughts, but also more importantly is live, laugh, and learn. Really, that's what it's all about. And especially, let's resonate that back to the children in the schools. I say thank you to all the teachers that are here, all the educators, the resource teachers, the educational assistants, all the support staff, operation maintenance, transportation, you name it. Everybody that's involved, because really, you're the frontliners. You're the ones that we do this. It's all for the children. I say that every time I speak. Everything we do is for the children. That's why we live. That's why we work, is for them, and that's everything it's all about. In this conference, certainly there is a wide range of workshops. Hopefully, you leave here with gaining some knowledge. Again, where we speak about excellence in First Nation education. I want to thank our keynote speaker for today, Dr. Courtney Leary from the Norway House Cree Nation. Dr. Leary has been a very strong inspiration to a lot of people. She's persevered in her life and to where she is now, where she helps our people, she helps her people, and exactly what it's all about. So thank you again, Dr. Leary. I do want to say, when you leave this event, again, you make friends, and again, take that home, what you learn from here. I want to say, develop your experience, your knowledge and skills by attending Lighting the Fire 2023. I really, again, we hope to see you again, and certainly, Ichime Wech to all. Thank you very much. Bonjour, Hani.
Hello. Okay. I'll let Charles know that his message was well received. And I guess on my part, I too want to encourage all of you to take the time to meet new people over the next 3 days. I always cherish the relationships that I've created over the years at conferences, especially Lighting the Fire. Our theme, Breakthrough to Excellence in First Nation Education, is an important message. And I know our executive director had mentioned that the children are our priority. And it's important that everything we do is for them and building an education system that is theirs. And that's one of our goals at MFNERC, is helping to support communities to build education systems for our children and our grandchildren. And a big part of that is grounding our education in our First Nation languages and cultures. That's a very important piece that we want to encourage and promote and support, is building off a foundation of languages and cultures. the level of language loss that we're seeing is significant, and we need to do everything we can because that's an integral part of our education, and it has to be a priority. So I wanted to throw that in there. For those of you that know me, I am actually the Director of Languages and Culture, so I have to throw my language and culture piece in there. It's important, and it's important that we observe our protocols when we gather, which we will continue to do. So at this time, I want to acknowledge all of the MFNERC staff for doing all the work in getting the conference ready, for all of our staff that are presenting, getting all their presentations ready. You know, there's been a lot of work in the background. You'll see Michael Hutchinson running around here going crazy, but he's an integral part to ensuring things are running smoothly. So I want to say kuchimiwech to all of them for all their hard work and all the work that's going to happen over the next 3 days. It's going to be great. I know you guys are going to take in a lot of great sessions, and we'll have a great time. So I wish you all a great next 3 days. I want you to learn, share, and laugh. If anything, laugh. So with that, and we'll have a good 3 days. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Davin. At this time, I'd like to call up to say a few words on behalf of Grand Chief Kathy Merrick and on behalf of our chairperson, Clarence Easter, who's not here at the moment. I'd like to call up Chief Wayne DeJarlis from Evanflow.
Miigwech ticket, and stabi hui makan kakakui kijung. I just need cast hobbies credibs give me ni me desirate. A go idea and niche me to win jan. A pitching a chin and no ma ni buyan. So what the man minik kina my heck. Umayota bino jahana hajot, chikina mota ninja chicken what was an egg. Miigwech ticket I hear it's bit. And stabi hui makwa. Kathy Merrick to be Good morning, everybody. My name is Wayne DeJarlis, Chief of the Evanflow First Nation. I'd just like to thank our drum group for doing a fine drum this morning. I'd like to thank the people that did the morning ceremonies, and as we lit our sweet grass this morning in my house. I thought about coming here, and I didn't even know I was coming here. Unfortunately, I'm going to be going as soon as I can. I have a few funerals that one of them is in my community that I have to attend. But I got a call from the executive director's assistant yesterday if I could come and say a few words on behalf of the Grand Chief Kathy Merrick, and I hope she's on the plane already, but I know she's going to be coming back from England, and I was one of the fortunate ones that was asked to go to England, but I declined because I just got back from Toronto. I was in Ottawa, I was in Vancouver, and I didn't want to go to England, which is a few weeks of. It wouldn't have been holidays. I think it would have been an experience that somebody shouldn't decline, but I went ahead and declined it. But, I'm here on behalf of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs representing Kathy Merrick, and she brings greetings to each and every one of you educators that are here today. And I also like to thank Charles Cochran, the Executive Director, for his words of wisdom, and also Davin. I've known Davin for many years, and I see quite a bit of educators in here that I actually probably, some of them I taught, and some of them I worked with, and some of them I went to school with, and it's Education is something that we need. And like Davin said, there's over 1,400 participants in this year's Lighting the Fire, which is very significantly important to our First Nations people. As I was driving in this morning, I was listening to the radio. A friend of mine from Long Plains, Clemens Assiniboine, was on there. So him and I talked quite a bit in our language, and I told him I was coming to Winnipeg to speak on behalf of the Grand Chief. But, the things that we talk about, education, language, culture is very important. I don't know how many of you are watching the NHL playoffs. I was kind of disappointed the other day, the comments that were made by a commentator from ESPN. I know you've probably seen it on the media. But this didn't start yesterday or the day before. As a young man, Charles Cochran and I, another community member, we tried out for the Dauphin Kings and Dauphin Manitoba, and we actually made it. So the coach at that time told us, "You three boys come back on Monday, then regular practices will start." So that was good and fine. We were excited to be on the Junior A hockey team. So when we went back on Monday, the coach pulled Charles, and the other guy's name was John. They pulled us aside. He said the board, Dauphin board, like the people that are in charge of the board for hockey in Dauphin, they had a meeting, I guess, over the weekend, and they said, unfortunately, the board decided that we have to take 3 guys from Dauphin. But, like I said, this didn't start yesterday. I'm talking like over 40 years ago this happened. So that was basically the end of our Junior A career, because we were at an age that, like, we didn't even want to go back and try out for a different team. We should have tried out for Portage, or there's no OCN team at the time. There's no Wayway team at the time. But anyways, talking about education and discrimination, our teachers, our communities, our students, our elders, our staff of our communities have come a long ways from over 40 years ago. I remember as a student, I came to a volleyball tournament. I was always participating in sports. I came to a volleyball tournament in Winnipeg, and I was the only Native person at the volleyball tournament. And unfortunately, I was asked not to go into the cafeteria at that time. I'm not going to mention the school. But, like I said, education has come a long ways. We have lots of lawyers, doctors, people with PhDs in education. I myself was in education for 26 years. I was an EA Penn student. And I know a lot of people went through the Penn program. I was a teacher, vice principal, and I also have my level 1 and 2 administrator certificate. So I was really into education. I wanted to be an RCMP, and then I found out one of my parents didn't know how to read, so I went to school to work with kids that didn't know how to read. But anyways, the teachers and staff, EAs, and community members of different communities from the east, south, west, and north that are here today. As a member of the board, First Nation Education Resource Center, I would like to thank each and every one of you for being here today. Education, like I said, is very important. At conferences I go to, chiefs say the kids are our future. But one thing you have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, the kids are the future of our communities. But one thing you have to remember, or they have to know, is without an education, there's not going to be too much of a future. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. It's nice to see everybody. Unfortunately, I have to leave, but I'd like to wish everybody a good 3 days here in Winnipeg, and make sure to take back lots of material back to your own communities where you came from. Kachimi West, thank you very much.
That was a great story, actually, about his tryouts there in Dauphin, and he brought up Zach Whitecloud, and that's why I'm wearing this medallion today too. That's one of the great stories that we have going right now in our communities. Zach started in Verdun Oil Capitals, and really took the long way, the back door to the NHL. So it's great to see him, and also Brandon Montour with the Florida Panthers. Do we have? Is Philip close by here? We'd like not that Philip, Philip for opening comments on behalf of MKO. You know what? While we let him come up here, I'd like to call up another one of our partners, Commissioner Loretta Ross of the Treaty Relations Commission Manitoba. That's one of our more recent partnerships. That's very important to that education that Wayne was talking about. To know where we would be Americans right now if it wasn't for those treaties. But there's a lot more to it, and part of what we did today when we had that pipe ceremony and the drum groups, like those are tools to communicate with the non-human world and speak on behalf of our non-human relatives, and that's another area, another space to make room for our own language and stories and promote our history. So you know what? I'm just going to introduce myself again. Bonjour, Jason Bone, Indigenous Cause, Kiswin Donji. I introduced myself once this morning, but now that everybody's here, I just wanted to say hello again. So at this moment, I'd like to call up Commissioner Loretta Ross.
Wow, these lights are bright. Good morning. Good morning. Bonjour, Anine. Happy to be here. I want to begin by acknowledging the elders for the ceremony this morning, the pipe and water ceremony. Elder Florence and Philip Painter, Miigwech, thank you very much. And Elder Painter, Philip Painter, again, for your opening invocation. I also want to acknowledge the drums and all of you for being here as well today for what I believe is going to be a wonderful week. I know that you must be excited to participate in the events of the week, and no doubt you will learn something and be able to take something home with you. I also want to thank the First Nation Education Resource Center for the invitation to come and spend a little bit of time with you this morning. I am going to be here for the morning, and I look forward to hearing the keynote speaker as well. It's interesting that Charles is away learning, right? I think that's one of the valuable things that as First Nation people is part of our education is it's lifelong learning, and he's putting that into action by attending and continuing to develop his skills to be able to do his work better. I'm presuming that's why he's doing it, but that's why we continue to learn and educate. It's also wonderful to hear all of the people that spoke before me speaking in their language. That's something that's part of my lifelong learning, is to learn my language and to be able to pass what I know on to my own children and to my grandchildren. So lifelong learning is certainly one of the values of excellence when we talk about excellence in First Nation education. And it's good to see that in action here from the leadership as well at the First Nation Education Resource Center. As Jason had mentioned, over the last year, I mean, we've been great partners with the Education Resource Center and the Treaty Commission for a number of years. When we developed our treaty education resource material, the Education Resource Center was involved and very much a part of that process as well. So we've had a long-standing relationship. In the last year, we've worked together to bring treaties in the classroom even more so, and particularly in First Nation communities as well. And so many of you may have already taken our treaty education training, and others may not. And I encourage you to reach out to ourselves and as well to the Education Resource Center to have that work. It's tremendous work, and I think we're having some really exciting news going forward that we'll be able to see even more treaty education in the classroom. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for educators, for you to come together, as I had mentioned, to learn, not only to learn, but to engage in others in your field, engage in your colleagues, and to plan. Right? Planning is a big part of excellence and how we move forward. So plan on how you bring this and to continue the excellence. I'm sure, I have no doubt that you're already engaged in excellence in First Nation education, but this provides you with further tools to be able to do your work better and effectively. In listening to Chief Desjardins' comments about, you know, a lot of the speakers not being here to speak because they're on their way back from London, I think we're at a time in our lives and in our history where the whole world is looking to see and learn from First Nation people again. This hasn't happened for a very long time, and certainly dating back to when the treaties were entered into. The world was looking for a new place, right? The world was looking for where they could continue to grow and and to be themselves. And we're back. It's almost full circle where we're coming back in the world. Even the King, people at the United Nations level are looking to the First Nations people to say, how do we make changes? So it's a wonderful opportunity for us to find ourselves in, and we have to seize that opportunity. We have to take advantage of that. And then we also have to take the opportunity to reflect back on what our ancestors and other leaders have paved and set in motion for us. Are we doing what they've put in place for us? There was a vision that was created in the early 1970s, and many of you may be aware of that. First Nation control of education was a big part of that vision. But that vision also talked about excellence in education. And when we think of what was happening in the 70s, the government of the day was wanting to do away with the Indian Act and wanting to do away with our treaties. And there was a great connection and collectivity from the First Nation people to say, you can't do that. You can't unilaterally do these things. You have to consult with your treaty partner, which is the First Nation people. And there was a reminder through Wabang to say, there are things that we have in place, and there's visions that we have and principles that we have for education and a lot of other things. And so it's important to build off of those. And I just want to remind you, again, in the 70s, right? That's 50 years ago. That's 2 generations ago. And we have to think of what have we been doing for the last 2 generations at the very least. A lot of the educators that were involved in those 70s are now our elders. And we still have the opportunity to reach out to them and ask them what their vision was and how we start to implement that. And I just want to read to you a couple of those visions that they have, and I hope you keep these in mind as you go through the workshops and the presentations that you engage in and that you listen to this week. The crucial part of that is the crucial collective action, right? Collective action is all of us working together to do this. So it's not left on the shoulders of one individual or a few individuals. It's a collective action. We all need to do this. So part of that vision is we want education to give our children the knowledge to understand and be proud of themselves, and the knowledge to understand the world around them. That's one. The second one is we believe in education as a preparation for total living, as a means of free choice of where to live and work, as a means of enabling us to participate fully in our own, right, social, economic, political, and education advancement. So that's talking about our own systems as well. The time has come for a radical change in Indian education. Our aim is to make education relevant to the philosophy and needs of Indian people. And that continues to be our challenge in 2023 as well. But it's just a reminder that a lot of work has been done. We can build on those, and I hope you keep those in mind as you continue your journey on excellence in First Nation education. Obviously, in my view, the treaties and their understanding is the foundation of all of this. We have to provide the young people with the sense of identity, and treaties is an excellent way to do that. So I wish you well. As teachers, this conference offers you the perspective of being a student again, to seeing what you can learn and absorb and take back and implement in the way that was contemplated in 1972. You have the power to change. You are the change that we need. I invite you as well to our session. The Treaty Commission has a session Friday morning, and I encourage you to come if you can, to spend some time to explore how teaching treaties in the classroom can achieve excellence. Again, I wish you well. Have a great week and safe travels back to your community. Miigwech.
Thank you, Commissioner. That was excellent. Do we have Philip close by here? This is your last call to say some words on behalf of MKO. I do have a few announcements, actually. Do you want to? We have Shirley Ducharme here to say a few words on behalf of Grand Chief Garrison Seti.
Igusani, kita tamiskat na oga hagido. Tapoy hiu nanas kumon. Idumichi to tagatasik. Umagani ganas kamik kiskina homagin. Igusisimi to nagon kita na natatip mo tatahi ako. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here on behalf of MKO Grand Chief Garrison Seti to help open the lighting of the Fire Education Conference. I acknowledge the elders' prayer and also the drum group for opening this conference in a good way. I would like to take the time to welcome all conference participants and acknowledge the hard work of the staff to help make this conference possible. Lighting the Fire theme, Breakthrough to Excellence in First Nation Education, is without a doubt a fitting one as we move ahead to education so that our youth will have opportunities as they move on into the workforce and post-secondary education. We are now heading in a new direction, bringing back our ways, teaching the true history of Indigenous people, revitalizing the language. These are the key aspects of our own way. I would also like to acknowledge our present educators at MF NERC as they continue to find innovative ways to bring quality education to our communities. Your efforts and success have not gone unnoticed, and we look forward to what your daily work will bring us in the future. The teaching approach, emphasis on culture and language, and access to resources are important to our students' future and will enhance their educational experience along with their identity. Once again, welcome, and I wish everyone a good, informative conference at Lighting the Fire 2023. Igusani Miigwech, and thank you. Kinanas kumit na aga kito.
Thank you, Shirley, for those words on behalf of Grand Chief Garrison Seti. So I'd like to call up one of the co-MCs here, Brenda. Pardon me? Okay, we are actually going to, before we get into our keynote speaker, and before we proceed along with the agenda, we're going to have a short little break to let everybody get resettled, and so because we'd like to ask your attention to pay attention to the keynote speaker here.
Say the elders have asked that people when they're coming in and out that they be respectful.
Okay.
We're not gonna have a break. We'll just go to the keynote. The elders are not happy with people being talking.
Okay.
So just say our elders are asking.
Okay. Okay. Little change to the agenda. We are not going to have a little break, but we are going to ask for some courtesy from you guys. I know it's a big group, but we'd like to ask everybody to please respect the keynote speaker that we have coming up today, and for any of the other speakers and dignitaries that are up here, for those to hear what they have to say. So at this moment, I'd like to call up one of my coworkers here, Brenda Daniels from Swan Lake. Brenda has a brief little announcement about another conference that we have and we'll be hosting shortly. So you can just read this.
Do this now. Buju Gakanawiya, Miigwachpi Jayeg, Minogi Jigad. Brenda Daniels, Indigenous. I'm the Manitoba Aboriginal Language Strategy Coordinator with MFNERC, and I'm very honored to be with you all today. And I'm also especially honored to be introducing our keynote speaker today, Dr. Courtney Leary. Dr. Courtney Leary is an Indigenous family physician who practices in her home community of Norway House, Cree Nation, after graduating from Norway House High School and Warren Collegiate Institute. She graduated from the University of Manitoba Faculty of Science in 2008. She pursued her postgraduate training in family medicine. Dr. Leary also graduated from the University of Manitoba CCFP Emergency Medicine postgraduate training. She practiced emergency medicine at the Thompson General Hospital, and in 2014, Dr. Leary started her work at the Ongomoziwin Health Services in Norway House. She is the medical education lead for the Norway House Family Medicine Training Site for the Rady Faculty Health Sciences. She developed a program to introduce traditional Indigenous healing practices into the curriculum for medical learners who visit Norway House. Dr. Leary is also the Chief of Staff of the Norway House Hospital. In 2022, Dr. Leary started a wellness clinic in each of the community schools in response to the ongoing mental health and suicide crisis. Dr. Leary's goal is to showcase the diverse experiences and resiliency of First Nations population in her home First Nation, and to encourage other young Indigenous scholars to pursue careers in the healthcare field. She lives in Norway House with her husband, Preston Muswagon, and is a proud mother to her sons, James and Charles. Please help me welcome Dr.
These are bright. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. I didn't realize she was going to read bio, which kind of went through my education, so she just took off the whole first page of my speech, which is fine. But thank you very much for being here. I was expecting to speak to about 200 or 300 people. So when I walked in, well, first when we drove into the parking lot, I was like, holy, there's a lot of people here. So 1,400, it's impressive, but also intimidating. Even though I do a lot of things that you may consider intimidating, public speaking is still one of the things that still makes me nervous. So bear with me if I falter a little bit. Closer? Okay. Jeez. don't want to break anything. I did suggest maybe a break because I know some of you need a fresh air break. I was overruled. So bear with me. If you do feel that you need to step out for a minute, I promise I'll still be talking when you get back because it's 11 pages long. So, hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Courtney Leary. I'm a physician with Ongamazin Health Services. That is the health services that was formerly known as the J.A. Hildy's Northern Medical Unit. The NMU, as some of you may remember it as, provides physician, nursing, and specialist services to Northern Manitoba, to some OG Creek communities, Dene communities, to one Ojibwe community in Broken Head, and to a fair number of Creek communities. I am a Norway House Cree Nation member. I grew up in Norway House. I currently live there most of the time when we're not down here traveling or visiting family. And I live there, as she said, with my husband, Preston, who I brought as my support person to keep me calm. And I live there with my son, Charles, who's 7 years old. And my older son, James, lives down south where he attends the U of W. I had to make sure that I mentioned Charles's name because when I was working on this speech, he specifically told me, make sure you tell them who I am. So I've lived in Norway House for most of my life. My parents and I, with my 3 sisters, moved there. I think it was 1988, after my grandmother had passed away. And my mom wanted to be closer to her dad to help take care of him. So from grade 4 to grade 12, I was in Norway House. And then like many of you and many of your students, I had to leave home to pursue my education and my career. And I'm very happy to be back home now. It does present a unique set of challenges that many physicians don't have to face, but I am very grateful for the work that I do. I have always wanted to be a physician. Briefly, when I was 12 years old, I thought maybe I'd be a lawyer, but then I decided, no, I'll just keep on trying to be a doctor. And I can't tell you why I decided at that young age why I wanted to pursue this career. I can't tell you that I was too stubborn to ever give up. There was no mentor. There was no person that I knew that was a physician. So there wasn't a special moment that was like an aha moment for me. It was just something that I always wanted to do, and it never felt wrong. So I went to high school in Norway House. I spent 1 year at Warren Collegiate Institute, which is that little town just north of Red Sun that you'll zoom by. I went there to play basketball for a year, so that's why I left Norway House for a short period of time. And then I went into the U of M, to the Access program, through their, like they had a special program to help people who wanted to pursue health careers. So I did that. 1997 is when I went to the U of M, and I was 17 years old. My path through my undergraduate education, so my first degree, was not quite the straight arrow path that I had originally planned for myself. I seriously considered taking time off after a rather disappointing and unimpressive first year of university, which is a situation that many of our learners find themselves in. You have to relocate, you have to live on your own, with or without financial support from your community or from your family. You have newfound freedom. No problem. Flag's moving around. I feel like Donald Trump. Sometimes we rebel when you're away from your families. Sometimes, well, most of the time you get quite lonely. And maybe it's the first time that students have ever had to do anything for themselves. And it can be really hard. So it is hard for our students, just as it was hard for me, to navigate through all of those issues, through all those areas. And then you also have to do well in university, which is a whole different ballgame than you experienced in high school. And I just want to take a little aside that when I got into medical school, I was actually quite surprised at the people that I was in med school with. These were 20-something-year-olds living at home, didn't have to grocery shop, didn't have to do laundry, didn't have to cook dinner, didn't have to drive themselves to school, usually given a car, didn't have to pay rent, didn't have kids. So you can imagine how much easier it is for those people of that privilege to succeed. So I don't think it's anything against Indigenous students that you don't see those numbers as the white community in our medical education, because things are just a little bit easier sometimes for them. After my first year of university, I found myself back home in Norway House looking for work. I worked every summer. First, I was a substitute teacher because as soon as you turn 18 and you graduate from high school, you're allowed to be a substitute with Frontier. And then I worked as a waitress and a cook. And then I found out I was pregnant. So my pregnancy was not planned because I was 18 at that time. It wasn't part of my plan, but it did force me to take a good look at the path that I was on. I thought to myself, do you want to be raising a child and working as a waitress at the York Boat Diner for the rest of your life? No, I didn't. So because I wanted more than where I was at that moment, I knew I needed to refocus and prioritize my education. I knew that for me, it was the only thing that was going to get me where I wanted to go. I still wanted to be a doctor, but I had just made my career goals and that path so much harder to obtain. So I needed to be that much more dedicated. It was my mother, who has passed away now, who gave me the best advice at the time. Sorry. And it was definitely that advice that carried me then and still carries me now. She sat me down at dinner. She took me out for dinner at Moxie's at Polo Park. I was very pregnant and very scared and wasn't quite sure how things were going to go for my life. And she asked me, what are your career goals? And I told her I still wanted to be a doctor. And she said, okay, so let's make a plan. So we put the goal of getting into medical school at one end and where I was at that moment at the other end. And I already knew what I needed to take in university. I had already researched what I needed to get on the MCAT, the exams that had to be taken. I knew what the steps were to get where I wanted to go. So my mother had me work back year by year, semester by semester, course by course, outlining every single step to get where I wanted to go, and also predicting any obstacles along the way. So we did that step by step until we arrived at where I was at that moment, 19, not doing so great in school, and pregnant. I think one of the biggest factors of my success, because back then 19 and pregnant, and then now I'm 43, not pregnant, but got where I wanted to go in my career. I really think that one of the biggest factors in my success was that I never thought I couldn't do it. It never occurred to me to think that I couldn't pursue and succeed in this career. At any point in my life, through all the obstacles, I always knew I could do it. It was just a matter of, was I willing to work as hard as I needed to get there? And I firmly believe that youth is a protective factor. That when we are young, our naivete keeps us from being overwhelmed by the realities and challenges of life. Because when I think back to who I was at 20 years old, and me now, knowing what the job takes, knowing what the training takes, I would think, oh man, I don't think that you could do it. But luckily, I was stupid enough and stubborn enough to think that nothing was going to stand in my way when I was 20. And I know that we've all done ridiculous things when we were younger. I know my husband has. I know Jason has, because I've known him for a while. And you would never think that those silly kids that are doing ridiculous things would end up where they are. And yet we do. We become educators and we become doctors and lawyers, and we do land-based education, we revitalize language. We can do all of those things, but you have to continue to believe that you can. Even if in our younger years, we have been exposed to some harsh realities or we've had to survive some traumatic situations, our brains, when we're younger, that are protected, our spirits, can still allow us to have that almost magical thinking of, I can be anything. And I really want to drive this point home, that when a child, an adolescent, or a young adult tells you their dreams or their aspirations, our primary job is to say, that sounds amazing, I believe in you. Whether you actually believe or not, it doesn't matter. That's what they need to hear to continue to believe in themselves. I'm sure that each and every one of you has had an experience in your younger years or recently where somebody tried to rain on your parade. Someone told you, be realistic. You're never going to do that. You're never going to leave here. That's not going to happen. Stop acting so good. What they're really saying, though, when they say those kinds of things to you, is stop dreaming, stop hoping, stop trying to succeed, and stop trying to leave us behind. People can be afraid of hope. It is an amazingly powerful tool, but it also can open you up to disappointment. So I would like you to think to yourselves, what's a scarier situation? To work hard, to give it everything that you've got and possibly fail, or to give up before you've started, to make excuses, to blame someone, something, some government for why you couldn't move ahead. I should have done like a trigger warning. I don't know if you recognize this by now, but I'm pretty intense. So I know Charles said live, laugh, and love and all of those things, but I am generally an intense type of person. So I promise there'll be a few jokes thrown in here and there, but I really like to try and get the message across. And I hope that nobody cries, because I happen to do that a lot as well. I'm always making people cry at work. But anyway, my parents, Jim and Kathleen Leary, who were both educators, and I think that also had a real big impact on what me and my sisters do, they raised us girls, without limitations. We were not raised being told to follow stereotypes or traditional gender roles. All four of us had to work inside and outside the house. When I got my license, before my mom let me use the van, I had to change and rotate all of the tires to prove that I could do it. Everybody did a job. Everybody did every job if you could, and you never didn't have a job to do. If you ever said you were bored in my household, pray for that child, because there was going to be a huge chore list coming up. I never heard my parents tell us that we weren't capable of something. Our only limitations were the ones that we put on ourselves. So, going back, after we had the Let's Plan Your Life dinner, I had my plan, and I followed it. It was my roadmap to my goal. I focused on each small goal, each class, keeping my eye on the big picture, but also focusing on those small little things on that to-do list so that you didn't become overwhelmed. And this allowed me to never feel that things were falling apart, never allowed me to have that sky is falling, philosophy, where I felt like I just couldn't do it anymore. When things became or started to feel unattainable, you just go back to your plan, go back to your to-do list. So no matter what happened in that road, the plan didn't change. The list didn't change. And this still works for me today. I realized last night when I was going through this, that when COVID hit Norway House, this is exactly what I did. Everybody was scared. We were all scared. And I was at that time the senior medical advisor to Norway House Cree Nation. And I got a few calls from chief and council, and I got a few calls from the hospital, and everybody was kind of like, what are we going to do? And nobody knew what was happening, and I had to go through data, and I had to learn about COVID, and I had to figure out how are we going to get it from coming to our town? What are we going to do when it happens here? How are we going to see walk-ins? How are we going to see appointments? How are we going to intubate people if people start to crash? And I had to make this huge plan. But that's what it was. It was step by step, every little thing, until we actually had a plan that worked really well for our community. So whether it's new tasks, new jobs, or when life throws something at you that you don't think that you can handle, like a global pandemic, I look at what I want to achieve. I think of all the possible paths to get there, and I outline the steps that need to be taken. I'm not naive enough to think that obstacles won't occur, but I am stubborn enough to know that I will always find a way to make it work. And my husband could probably attest to this. It's never just plan A and maybe a B. It is the whole damn alphabet. Now, I have to say this about my journey, that what I learned going through medical school and residency and then working in Thompson especially, that when people hear that you were a teenage mother or that you went through medical school as a single parent, it's like they're proud of you, but not. They congratulate you in spite of. So in spite of being a teenage mother, in spite of being a single parent, in spite of being from the res, in spite of being Indigenous, you were able to do all of these things. People will take some of my most beautiful moments and my greatest accomplishments and try to turn it into a negative by looking at it through their eyes. I am very happy that I had my son when I did. It gave me purpose. It taught me how to work when I'm tired. When all of my classmates were losing their mind about having to stay up for 36 hours, no problem. It forced me to learn time management. I had to learn to rely on myself and to function independently. I love that I grew up in Norway House. I love being Indigenous. I love knowing where I come from. I love having a connection to the land that we walk on and to the community. I love that Charles plays on the same spot, on the same hill that I played on, that my sisters did, that my mom did, that her brothers and sisters did. Knowing that you're standing in the spot of your ancestors is really powerful for me. These experiences have changed how I view connections, how I view family and time, and all of that makes me a better doctor. So when I am faced with a in spite of moment, I feel it is my job to educate that person. And the biggest time that I had to do that was when I got my brand new job at the Northern Regional Health Authority, and I met our chief medical officer, and he congratulated me on becoming a doctor because he then proceeded to compare me to the homeless population in Thompson and how hard it is for Indigenous people, and he sees what their lives are like. So good for you for becoming a doctor. That was one of the hardest moments I had to sit through. And obviously you can't really educate your boss on the first day of your new job. But we did eventually get there. Because they might not realize the meaning behind their words when they say things like that to you. They might, but they might not. They might not see how patronizing it is. When people can't put themselves in your shoes and they don't know how they would react to your lives and your situations, they assume that your experiences must be negative because they don't think that they could live through the same thing. They don't think that they could succeed through the same thing, so they kind of put their, insecurities on the people that they're talking to. People will put their beliefs and values on you. They will have predetermined ideas based on race, sex, wealth, and geography. It's easier for the general population, not this room, but the general population, to believe stereotypes. It makes it easier for them to swallow the injustices that we see. I would like you to remember, and this is something that I would like you to pass on to your students, and I'm sure that you already do. You and your students do not have to subscribe to what they're trying to make you believe. You write your story. Being an Indigenous woman, I had to write my own story. I have to know myself, my purpose, my belief system, and what I stand for. And people can say whatever they want about me, but nobody speaks for me. My mother gave me a voice, her mother gave her a voice, and so on. So the strength that I feel that I possess has been inherited. And it's funny that when I work in the town that I work in, people know my grandmother, and they knew my mother. And sometimes they stop in their tracks, and they're like, oh, it's just like I was listening to your mother talk. Or when you give them the eyebrows or the stare, I get told how that's a family trait. But speaking of having a voice, it's not easy. You know this. You live it in your schools, in your communities, and in your families. Choosing to be differently, wanting things to be different, guarantees that your life just got much more difficult. It's not easy to speak to injustice or to try and affect change. It's so much easier to just go along with the way things are, keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, and do as you're told. But I don't think that any of you would be here if that was a description of your character. Using your voice, living by example, and never forgetting what amazing role models you all are is how we change the lives of young people. So let's talk about change. Phil from MKO, who I met outside, and actually we started university around the same time back in '97. He asked me kind of, what is your message? Or what do you tell young people? I said two things, hope and change. So we'll talk about change. In my mother's lifetime, Indigenous people couldn't vote. She attended day school, and she told me a very funny story about not being served in a restaurant. But anyway, that was the reality for her. She was born in 1948. In my lifetime, it was almost unheard of for a First Nations woman to be a doctor. And it's still pretty rare for a First Nations physician to be practicing in their home community, where they grew up, living in the house they grew up in that was built by their grandfather. So even just in those two lifetimes, in those two generations, we can see how much change is possible. And if you look around this room, could you think that maybe 50 years ago, I don't even know how this conference is going on for, but let's say 50 years ago, 70 years ago, would this ever be possible? Would you all be educators? Would you be working to make changes in your community? No, you might not have even have been allowed to. So even though things can happen very slowly, they do change. Back home, the Norrie House Indian Hospital, it is still called that, is a federal hospital. It is one of the two last federal hospitals in Canada. It was created as a response to Indigenous illness, a way to isolate disease and Indigenous people away from the better funded white hospitals. It was never meant to heal people. It was never meant to mend the issues that plagued the Indigenous people of that time. And it was never meant to be a response to what people needed or wanted. But it will be. Now, the Norrie House Hospital employs 12 nurses in the actual hospital part. All of them are First Nation. Many of them are fluent in Cree. Our healthcare aides are local. Our housekeeping staff is local. The kitchen staff is local, and it is the best cafeteria that you'll ever go to. 50% of our lab staff is local. Until recently, our lab director was from Cross Lake, so pretty close to local. Our community clinic is 100% Indigenous staffed. I'm the chief of staff of the Norrie House Hospital and the clinic. Yes, let's applaud for that. Yeah, I don't think they recognize how special they are. I tell them all the time, but nobody ever else talks about it. But also what happens, if something happens at work and they decide they don't want to work anymore, I go find them, chase them down at the mall or the store and tell them to get their butt back to work because I need them. Anyway, that's what they expect from me. But yeah, so I'm the chief of staff of the hospital and the clinic, and I'm local. Almost all of my aunts and uncles have worked for the hospital at some point when they were growing up, and 2 of them were born there. My Uncle Ed passed away in our palliative care suite, surrounded by all his family and the young women that he saw grow up, and they helped take care of him. This hospital, which was never intended to have Indians doing anything more than occupy beds or assisting the white nurses, is now run by Indigenous people. For Indigenous people using their language. And another thing that we do there that I took on when I started is to incorporate the non-Western healing practices. So if somebody comes in and they want to use traditional medicine, I will consult one of our local people. I'll get the medicine, I'll prepare it for them, I'll give it to them. I write it as an order. If somebody comes in and they want to go on a pass to have a sweat, like we've had cases where people have been a little bit unstable. Some people choose medical intervention, and some people choose, actually, I think I need to go to a sweat. I send them to the sweat. I release them as their physician to the ceremony person that's going to run that sweat. And then they come back, everything's great, and then we let them go home. So I don't know any other hospital where that happens either. So I can almost guarantee that it's the only facility of its kind in Canada. So things change. Like I live down Nelson River. I can almost see the hospital from where we sit. And my grandpa used to work at the Hudson Bay. He worked there for 44 years, and he used to walk, right? Walk to work down the ice. And my grandmother raised 9 or 10 kids. And some mornings when I get up early enough and I look down the river and I wonder if my grandparents could ever have imagined that I would be doing that someday, that I would be working at that hospital someday, that I would be running that hospital someday. And it's in those moments that I try to have some pride in myself. Pride it's a sticky thing. My parents never said they were proud of me. I mean, I knew that they were, but they never said it because the expectations that you would do better the next day were always there. So one of the things I think that makes me work so hard is that I'm still trying to make my mother proud. I want to tell you something else that has recently changed in our community. Historically, the Norrie House Community Clinic, we have offered in-school clinics. So we have Frontier. We don't have MF NERC in Norrie House. We have Frontier. We have the Helen Betty Osborne in a New Education Resource Center, which is a nursery to grade 12 school. It's at least 1,000 kids. I don't know exactly how many. And then we have Jack River School, which is about 800, and that goes from nursery to grade 8. Now, years ago, Dr. Moffat was a pediatrician that came to Norrie House, and he recognized and listened to the schools when they said, we need someone to come into the school. And that was primarily just for ADHD assessment and management. So those schools have been running for years and years in Norrie House. Sorry, not the schools. The clinics have been running in the school for years and years in Norrie House. For the last 3 or 4 years, I've taken on those clinics. And that happened because of COVID. Because during COVID, I was the only doctor in town sometimes because everybody else was from out of town or out of province. We had travel restrictions. And my husband and I just decided we're just going to stay put. We're just going to stay here for as long as we need to. So we've been doing the ADHD clinic in the schools for a while, and it runs very, very well, and I love doing it. But this year, I also started running the wellness clinics in school. And the wellness clinic was meant to address some gaps in healthcare for our students. The gaps that I was noticing with our young people is that we'll see you when you're pregnant. We'll see you when the babies are born and you come back from Thompson or from Winnipeg after delivery, a few unplanned deliveries in Norrie House. We'll see you for those first 6 weeks, you get your shots, and then you go to public health for the rest of your immunizations, and then we don't see these kids anymore. So there's kids that I've helped take care of that I never see again until they're adults or young adults, until bad things happen. That's when we see them again. So we're missing out on opportunities for intervention for a lot of these children, where if you lived in the city, you can see a pediatrician 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 months, 4 months, like all of your life until you're 18. You can see them as much as you want. And there's regular things that they're checking for. And because we're 6 doctors for a community of 8,000, there's not enough time for us to see all of the kids. And it's not that we're turning anybody away, it's that the kids rely on their parents or their grandparents to bring them for medical care. So they're not coming to be like, oh, I just thought I'd check to see how things are going. They're coming with broken arms or UTIs or ear infections, or they have a cold that's not getting better. They're coming when they need to because life is complicated and people are busy and they don't have the time to be sitting in the clinic all day long. So there's a lot of children that were not getting the medical care that they needed. And one of the biggest things that we were missing were the opportunities to intervene in terms of mental health. We would see them when they would come in crisis. We'd see them in the emergency room. They would get shipped off to Winnipeg, to the Children's Hospital, to their emergency department to be seen by a psychiatrist, and then usually the next day, shipped right back home. there was no spot for an intervention. There was no spot for a pre-assessment for those kids. So this is, I'm going to go into a little bit of some deep waters here. It's touchy subjects. I'm not going to ask if anybody needs to step out because I know that you have experience in all these areas and I know that you can handle it, or you wouldn't be here or you wouldn't have the jobs that you have. But what prompted the start of the wellness clinic was unfortunately tragedy. In my community, as I'm sure in many of yours, we still experience youth suicide. And we had a tragedy last year, 11 years old. Let me take a minute. And when that happened, I was sitting at home with Preston and I just felt like a train hit me. You know, like you kind of get used to unexpected death as an Indigenous person, unfortunately. It feels like we're always grieving. It feels like we're always battling the next crisis. But when I got that call, and it was a student at a school that I work at, a school that I went to, that my husband went to, that my kid now goes to, it just felt like I couldn't go on. So it really stopped me in my tracks. And I turned to Preston, we were sitting on the couch, and it was just so having to contemplate this was so wrong. It was so unnatural when you're dealing with the death of a child for any reason. I know it's your biggest fear, that your children or your grandchildren, that something will happen to them. It's what drives us to kind of protect them so much, to hover, to never let them go. You know, to baby our 18-year-old men. They're Nana's boys sometimes. But this is why, because we're afraid, because we know that bad things can happen. And all we want to do is just for them to be healthy and happy and safe and at home with us. So at that moment, I had a real sort of career midlife crisis. And it was kind of like, what am I doing? What's the point of all of this? Why am I chasing people to ask about their blood pressures? Or why do I care what their blood sugar was when kids are killing themselves? Why? What's the point? And we were both upset. And we sat there, you know, looking at each other, talking to each other. And then we knew that we had to do something. So then it was a lot of brainstorming of what could we do? Just knowing that we had to do something. Because you can't have kids killing themselves and continue to do nothing. And I know that we're not doing nothing, but you know, that's how it feels. When something horrible happens, you feel like there's got to be more that we can do. And I know that there's people and there's programs that dedicate their lives to this. But it doesn't mean that individually we shouldn't all think to ourselves, what can I do about this problem? This is not a CFS problem. This is not a school problem. This is an everybody problem. So Preston and I talked and kind of tried to go through what are the things that we think that would make a difference in these kids' lives. And for me, myself, as a physician who sees them only in crisis, I thought whatever I'm doing right now, it isn't working. So we got to do something different. The hard part about seeing a problem is trying to figure out a plan to address it. And it was, how can I, with the gifts that Creator gave me, make the most impact while also not trying to take over everything? And trying to figure out what was the best thing to do. Because in that moment, when you see a crisis, you kind of think, oh, well, this person should have done that, and whose fault is this, and they should have had this. And then you also think to yourself, well, I could maybe do everything. I'll start a youth group, or I'll start grief circles, or I'll do this. And then it was actually my sisters who were kind of like, Courtney, you don't know how to do everything. Just stay in your lane, know your role. And then I thought, okay, what can I do with the skills that I have, with all of the training that I have, and with my connection to the schools and the community? What is my best practice? Because I'm not an elder, and I'm not really a knowledge keeper, and I'm not a social worker, and I'm not a teacher, I'm not a guidance counselor. Like, they all have their very specific roles, and I should not be doing any of their jobs because I don't know how. So the only thing that I could do was be a doctor. So I went to the school and I talked to the principal at the time, and I asked her if she felt it would be useful in any sort of way to have a doctor coming to the school once a month, and that we would try and address some of these healthcare gaps, specifically always in the back of my mind thinking about mental health. I didn't want to call it a mental health clinic because I didn't want the kids to not want to come. So we called it wellness clinic. And if you've got a stub toe, I'll see that. You got a headache, I'll see that. You have, suicidal thoughts or depression, I'll see that. So that's what I did. I started a clinic. We started meeting with the principals, the vice principals, the school guidance counselors, the wellness workers, the resource teachers, the superintendent, who, by the way, is also an MFNR previous employee. My friend Candace Wilson is now the superintendent in Norrie House. But what we did, or what I did, is I didn't want to go in and try and take over, because that's kind of what doctors do sometimes. They come and tell you what to do, and maybe you already know what to do. So who am I to go in there and give you that advice? So I started consultation procedures, I guess, asking everybody in the schools, what is it that you want from me? How can I help you to do your jobs? And so now we're almost at the end of the year. I did it every month, all year long. And what I found was there was a lot of undiagnosed depression, young kids, a lot of undiagnosed anxiety disorders, a lot of undiagnosed ADHD, which was coming out in behavior issues and anxiety and depression. There was trauma that the kids needed to talk about that was overwhelming for the support workers that they had access to. Because unfortunately, as a physician, there's a lot of horrible things that I see, and I get used to it. So when kids tell horrible things to somebody that's close to them that they have to work with day to day, they get scared. So I can handle that information a little bit better, just because you get used to it. There were coping skills that the kids were using that made people afraid, that made the parents afraid. It prompted CFS involvement. And when I'm talking about the coping skills, sometimes it's drugs, sometimes it's alcohol, sometimes it's cutting, a lot of cutting. And people were using that as a coping skill, and it made people very scared. And just so you guys know, because I'm sure that you have lots of kids that you deal with, when kids use cutting as a coping mechanism, it is a physical and outward expression of the pain they feel inside. And if they don't have a way to get that pain from in here to out there somewhere, it will stay there, and it will fester, and it will grow, and they will not talk to anybody about it. And then we end up in very dangerous territory. So although cutting is, I hope nobody ever does it, just so you know, it's one of the ways that kids are coping. And we have to teach them different ways. We can't just expect them to know. A big part of my job when I did the wellness clinics was debriefing with the adults, because they all needed someone to talk to. As I know that you guys, when you have things that come your way that you were not trained for in education, you have to debrief with somebody. So the first half an hour, at least of my day, and the end of the day is talking with the adults about all the things that have happened and giving them space to feel safe and to express themselves. So with the wellness clinic, my plan moving forward, step in my is to identify the gaps which we have, identify the needs, which we're starting to do, and identifying who's best suited to meet those needs. And then how can I help support people to do their work? And then eventually I can step back. I'm hoping that I build bridges between all the different health resources, and that doesn't mean nurses and doctors. That the health resources are basically anybody that's involved with anybody that has any health issue. So that's also you. And yeah, so hopefully one day I won't have to do this anymore. It's not that I don't love doing it. It's that I hope that someday we don't need me. But this clinic is how I hope to bring change to my community. So that when I had that moment of what am I doing and what is my purpose and what is the point, this is the point. This is where I felt I can make the biggest impact, and I will actually be proud of myself, and I will make my ancestors proud, and I can feel that I did good. And that's all that we can really do, right? I wanted to share this story. It's a tough story, but I wanted to share it because it illustrates that even in the face of tragedy, we are capable of doing meaningful heart work and of making a difference. And that even when we feel hopeless or lost or broken, we can still try. We can still believe that things can change. And it has nothing to do with being a doctor. It has everything to do with having hope and how much love you have for your people and your communities. Now, I hope in all of this talking that I'm doing, and I know some of you probably really need a fresh air break, that you found some ideas and some inspiration that is applicable to you and the work that you do. So like I said earlier, I have two main driving factors, hope and the belief that change is possible. And what I've learned over the years, with hope and change being my driving forces, are what I'm very quickly going to share with you. I'll end off after this. It's what my colleagues call life lessons with Leary. Because I'm always giving life lessons to the med students and to the residents and to the other doctors. Because surprisingly, even though they're doctors, they don't know how to handle things sometimes. So sometimes they need teaching and guidance. So life lessons with Leary. I keep on hoping that the local radio station will offer me a talk show, but they haven't yet. So what I'm going to share are the lessons that have carried me through and things that I've learned along the way, the things that have kept me going, and hopefully I'll keep on adding to this list as I get older. Number one, hard work and dedication will make up for lack of knowledge. You will always learn what you need to learn along the way as long as you are willing to work hard. You can't start off knowing everything. You just have to be present and learn and try to learn. Number two, and this comes from one of my mentors, Mitch Bourbonniere. Nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. So I'll say that again. Nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. This is so true in education, in health, in any social service, and just in life. You can have all of the knowledge and good intentions in the world, but if you don't take the time to listen or make the effort to understand people, their lives, and where they're coming from, your knowledge will never be heard. Number three, some of you, I'm sure all of you know this, but life isn't fair. It's not ever going to be fair. Don't waste time thinking or waiting for the day where it's all of a sudden going to be fair. Life, even though it's beautiful, can also be difficult and horrible at times, but we never need to be the victim. Nothing was ever achieved by feeling sorry for yourself. Nobody wants to hear excuses. Excuses weaken you, they steal your drive, and they give you reasons to fail. And being that life isn't fair, some of you, and in my family included, will be hit by tragedy. Sometimes all you can do is survive, and that is enough. You don't have to expect daily greatness from yourself when it was an achievement just to get out of bed that morning. And sometimes, like my husband can attest to this, when I'm feeling kind of down and I don't have to be at work, it's days of watching ridiculous Hallmark movies and not showering and just sitting on the couch. And when I'm lucky, he brings me food. You know, and that's an achievement too, because I woke up, opened my eyes, and I at least moved from the bed. So sometimes surviving is enough. You need to be proud that you got through the day, and you are not alone. You are never alone. No matter how hard it is and how much you feel that nobody can understand what you're going through, some of us have been there, but I guarantee there's been somebody who's been there before you, and you're never alone in your feelings. Others have come before you, and others will come behind. And when the ones that come behind you, those are the ones that give you the opportunity to teach and to help and to lift up, just like maybe hopefully you were lifted up. Number four, help others. Help people because it's the right thing to do, not because it looks good on resume or Instagram. Just help people. Do what you can, big or small, in any way, without expectation of reward or recognition or conditions or judgment. And all of you in the work that you do help people. And I know that you probably know this. It's very rare that anybody ever says thank you. And it feels so good when they do. But that's not why we do this work. We don't do it for recognition. We do it because it is the right thing to do and it speaks to our spirit. Number five, be willing to learn and acknowledge that there are other people out there that might know something that you need to learn. And don't ever think that education comes only with degrees or in institutions. Nothing keeps me more humble than working in Norway House, because I do not know how to back up a trailer. I do not know how to clean geese or fillet a fish. I have my husband, to do all of those things for me and to take me fishing. Nothing will keep you more humble than somebody laughing at you for something that they can do no problem in their sleep. So the education that's important comes in our institutions, but it also comes in our community. And that land-based traditional education deserves to be honored. And I wish that I got paid as much as the ones that have the papers hanging on the wall. Be humble, right? It's okay to be proud, but it's also good to be humble and to remember that you got where you are with the help of a lot of people. And I would never ever think that I'm standing here because I just worked hard and I did it on my own. I had teachers, I had mentors, I had people lifting me up. And through my most difficult times, I had people who I didn't even know praying for me, wishing for me, hoping for the best for me. So it's that gratitude that for me, I think equates with being humble. And then the opposite is be proud. Don't ever think that you don't deserve to be here. Don't think that you don't belong. We need you. We need your students. We need educators, just like we need doctors, that have faced hardship, that have resiliency, that are allies and advocates. We need survivors. We need fighters. We need to stop valuing privilege and entitlement. The people that are in those higher up positions that did not have to go through the steps that you had to went through to get where you are. Sometimes life is easier for some people, and it's not really fair. That's usually a certain type of person that life is easier for. You are all people who are ready for challenges, and you expect your life to be full of challenges. And having had to work hard to get where you are makes you so much stronger, and it makes you so much better. Your experiences make you better. You are all gifts, and you give the gifts that you have to your students, and you recognize that they are also gifts as well. And I want you to know that I am proud of your accomplishments. I am proud of the work that you do. I'm proud of all of you. I'm very proud of Jason as he walks by here. When I heard that Jason went into teaching and then he became a professor and he was doing all this amazing stuff, it just makes me want to cry, because like I said, we just remember each other as these ridiculous kids running around doing silly things. So I'm proud of you, Jason. So now you've had the very quick version of Life Lessons with Leary. And with all advice and teachings, just because I gave you advice and told you all of this for the last however many minutes, you don't have to listen to anything that I say. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to follow it. Like my Uncle Donnie always says when he's talking about teachings or when he's passing things on, take it or leave it. It's up to you. Which I think, in the very cryptic way that elders always talk to you, because they never tell you exactly what to do, you have to live with the person you're going to become. You have to live with your choices. You have to answer to your ancestors. So be careful who you choose to follow. Be careful that it feels right to you. And you're allowed to ask questions. And you're allowed to research and think for yourself and make decisions for yourself. But always first, we listen. So that is the end of my keynote address. I would like to, go ahead, you can clap. I do want to give a thank you and a mention to my elders and mentors, Elder Gordy Walker, his wife, Madeline Gamblin Walker, to David and Cheryl Blacksmith, and to Mitch Bourbonniere. I'd like to thank MF NERC for inviting me to be here, even though I had a little panic attack as I walked through the door. To Charles and Lorna, my neighbors, and Lorna, my bingo partner. my beautiful friends for inviting me to be here, and to all of you for organizing this massive event. It's very impressive. And I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak and for listening today. And of course, a thank you to my husband for being here, Preston, and to my ever patient and understanding family. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that some of this resonated with you.
Thank you, Dr. Leary. On behalf of MF NERC, we'd like to present you with a gift.
Thank you very much. Okay. I never told you.
So let's give a hand to Dr. Leary. Now, I know she said she's not a knowledge keeper, but I think that with her experience and everything, she certainly is. And it's amazing to see our people doing these things like taking an old hospital and turning it into something to be where we can practice medicine for our people. And I think it's really great that you're making that space for traditional practices and for the health of people, because like many of you teachers, she would also know what's going on in our communities. And listening to her, I couldn't help but think, that a lot of females, a lot of our educators, they they really care for the community, and it shows in their work. And some of the teachers that I've met, have that same passion. So it's great to see. So thank you for everything you're doing, Courtney. I have a little announcement here. We're going to be having a short break. We'd like the essay contest winners to come back up here at 11:15 after our break. And so now's the time to get up and mingle and grab some coffee and reconvene here at 1:15. Thank you.
your school or your life better? How could you make your education journey better? And what were your recommendations? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to announce the winners, and then they're going to come up and read their essay, or myself will read the essay depending on their feelings. Yeah. So first up, we would like to invite Zachary Chartrand, who came in first prize. He's from the Dakota Teepee School. Come on up, Zachary. Congratulations, brother. Right, there's your money, and if you just want to say hello to everybody, and then go ahead and read.
Anxiety.
Yeah, no, it's all good. If got it, brother. Need a minute? That's all right.
How should I start?
Just say, hi, I'm Zachary, and then this is my essay. Go on. Keep your eyes down and just keep reading, brother. You'll do fine.
Hello. My name is Zachary, and I'm going to read my essay called Inspiring Students in Their Self-Development. The mind of a student can be compared to a fish in clear water, unbound, free to explore, and infinitely curious. For a moment, let us imagine the same fish swimming in murky waters. Now it is easy to draw parallels with how the school's environment affects the student's life. The water should have obstacle-free paths, show attainable goals, and a healthy sport ecosystem in order for every learner to flourish and be free to roam as he moves forward in his self-development. In this essay, I'll explore what I want to see in my school and what would inspire me in my learning journey. In a classroom setting, I want teachers to do more than teach. I want their impact to extend far beyond the classroom. I learn more from engaging learning and teaching. Research has demonstrated that engaging students in the learning process increases both their attention and focus and will motivate them to engage at that higher level. I found this super powerful. Moreover, it's a fact that the issues in our lives are hard to understand, like family situations, alarming crimes, and past experiences. Therefore, focusing on mental health care can increase productivity, enhance self-image, and improve relationships in order to build a happy community. The importance of bullying prevention should always be a top priority of the school and needs to be oriented and practiced by everyone. All education providers should provide a secure and happy environment free from threat and harassment. Learning disabilities should be given an emphasis. I can say that school is effective if there's an awareness of difficulties that students may face, such as dyslexia and ADHD. Expert manpower should treat individual differences effectively and efficiently. With this, there is inclusive education. I am very inspired to go to school with direct teaching strategies. From here, I can learn a lot. An example of this is a sense of community, meaning a feeling that members matter to one another and to the group. I love to see beautiful and structured classrooms. I believe that the learning environment affects the performance of the student. Furthermore, I'd love to see a classroom setting where technology is incorporated in learning and teaching process. Nowadays, technology affects almost every aspect of 21st century life. Technology is highly efficient and can boost student productivity. In conclusion, I would have to say that I believe the learner and his development to be paramount target of the learning institution. I have goals in life, and I believe that these things would nurture my spirit of learning and inspire my path towards educational excellence. Thank you.
You're good, Zach.
Great job. All right, let's give Zachary a big round of applause. It's tough getting up here. Now, the reason we chose Zachary's essay is because of the maturity and the self-introspection that we saw within that essay. And he's going to do great things, I'm pretty sure. All right, our next winner is, whoops.
Maybe for the next essay reader too, we'll do our best to be quiet so we can all hear her essay.
All right. Our second place winner is Florence Fisher, and she's from the Mississippi School. Come on up, Florence. Now, please give Florence a round of applause. She's feeling a little nervous. So please be quiet and listen to what she has to say. All right. Do you want this, or you got it on there? Yeah. I'll give you that.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank the creator for a wonderful opportunity. I would like to acknowledge my teachers, Mr. John Pensanavis, my LA teacher, Miss Violetta Nabong, Miss Jasmine Masankai, Mr. Jose Guerra, Miss Cecil D. Guzman, and Mr. Corbin Murdoch. I would like to thank my mom, Chantal Rail. I would also like to acknowledge our principal, Irene Rupp, our vice principal, Jay Onya, and everyone from Misco CP School. Education is an essential part of life as it enables individuals to grow and develop intellectually and personally. However, to achieve educational excellence, it is crucial to nurture a spirit of learning continually. To do so, it is essential to create an environment that fosters learning and inspires individuals to reach their full potential. In this essay, I will focus on the importance of using the Indigenous perspective and reclaiming the cultural identity to nurture a spirit of learning and inspire educational excellence. One crucial factor in nurturing a spirit of learning is the learning environment. Creating a conducive environment motivates individuals to learn and fosters an atmosphere that inspires excellence. For Indigenous individuals, it is essential to create a safe and exclusive space that respects and values Indigenous perspectives. Incorporating Indigenous knowledge systems into education and seeking mentorship and support from elders, community members can contribute to creating such an environment. Mentorship is also a crucial factor in inspiring educational excellence. A mentor who has walked a similar path and achieved success can provide guidance, direction, and motivation. A mentor can offer advice, help individuals set achievable goals, and hold them accountable for their progress. Motivation is another critical component of educational excellence. Motivation can come from intrinsic or extrinsic sources. For example, setting achievable goals, celebrating small victories, and visualizing the outcome of hard work can all be sources of intrinsic motivation. On the other hand, receiving recognition for one's efforts, earning good grades, or being acknowledged by peers and mentors can be a form of extrinsic motivation. To nurture a spirit of learning and inspire educational excellence from an Indigenous perspective, it is essential to honor and embrace cultural identity. Indigenous knowledge systems are based on a deep understanding of the natural world, the interconnectedness of all living beings. In Indigenous communities, knowledge is often passed down through oral tradition and personal relationships. Incorporating Indigenous knowledge systems into education can contribute to creating a learning environment that respects and values Indigenous perspectives. In conclusion, nurturing a spirit of learning and inspiring educational excellence requires creating a supportive learning environment, seeking mentorship and motivation. To achieve these goals from an Indigenous perspective is essential to honor and embrace cultural identity, incorporate Indigenous knowledge systems into education, and seek mentorship and support from elders and community members. By doing so, individuals can stay inspired and achieve academic success while maintaining a connection to their ancestors' cultural heritage. Have a good day, everyone. Do I take this?
Yeah, that's yours.
Thank you.
Give her another round of applause for getting up here and being brave enough. That was awesome. What a great essay and some awesome recommendations from a young person on, on how she can make her community and her school better. Okay, our third place winner is Michaela McKay, and she's from Manto Sipi. Come on up, Michaela. Okay, there you go. Okay. All right, Michaela's going to read her essay now. She is very nervous, so please keep the hubbub down and make her feel appreciated. Please, can we get a round of applause? You're going to do great. Just keep your head down. Just keep reading the words, and you'll be fine. Promise. All these people. Like nobody's here. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be doing great.
Okay. My name is Michaela McKay, and I am a proud student at Manto CP Cree Nation. I think it's important to share, not for me, but for the children, teachers, and workers at the school. Important needs of the school. We need better things for school, which is better access to the internet, the youth to remember our culture in school, and to improve, understand, and learn. What I would like to see in my school is better internet that works. When it goes down, we must wait for someone to fix it. My class and other classes need to use the internet for classroom work, whether that's working in a classroom or on the smartboard or in the computer room. It's hard to do that when the internet is down most of the time. That affects our learning and the teachers that are trying to teach their students. Other thing I would really love to see the artists is to make our art. Mucklucks, moccasins, mittens, number and beaded signs, dream catchers, beaded headdresses, etc. How to make and design, how to make the fur, hide tanning. Once a month, an elder comes to speak to the middle school to senior high and gives drumming lessons. Embrace our culture, not to forget it. Our elders and other elders before them tried to be assimilated. Because of that, we nearly lost our culture. I would like us youth to relearn our culture so we can pass it on from generation to generation and so on. What will inspire me in my learning journey is learning new things, being taught new things. If I find interest in a subject, I'll listen closely. Even if I don't, I'll still listen. After the lesson while you're working, I could get confused on some question. This is a part of my learning journey with social anxiety. I'll get the courage to ask for assistance. And after getting help, I'll think over the question and information I was given, write down my answer when I'm giving back the paper. If I got it wrong, I don't stress about it. Instead, I'll learn from it, pay attention to the subject more, ask more questions to understand it more, and learn. Never give up. Asking teachers for help can help you in your learning journey. In conclusion, better internet will help the school, and relearning our culture in school would really help the youth. It won't be quick and easy, but we can manage, and eventually we'll get there in the end. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen,
All right, great job by Michaela. And you know, it is scary to get up here and talk in front of you all. So please give her another round of applause. I want to read a little bit of her essay again, just to highlight how important all of you are. I write down my answer when I'm given back to paper. If I got it wrong, I don't stress about it. Instead, I'll learn from it. Pay attention to the subject more. Ask more questions to understand it more. And learn never to give up. Asking teachers for help can help you in your learning journey. And that's what we're all about here, and that's what we're all about, is being there when the youth have questions to ask. And we want to thank all our essay winners and everybody who submitted an essay. We want to thank the teachers who encourage their students to submit. And next year, we're hoping to do it a little bit differently so that there's more involvement from the teachers. I'm new in my job and still learning things, but we want to get the essay contest to be a bigger thing next year. So hopefully you can all help us with that. I do want to make some announcements since I'm up here and taking Jason's time. We are packed to the rafters, okay? And so We are going to have an overflow room. We don't have enough seats in all the workshops to fit everybody. So we're going to have some of the workshops, or at least one of the workshops, being shown on these screens in the plenary room. So if you can't find space elsewhere, there still will be a workshop shown in here. Also, because of for all classes, you can get that back third of the room after lunch is going to have to be cleaned out pretty quick. So that they can make those walls into classrooms, okay? So once lunch comes around, we're gonna be serving it right away. And then sort of when it gets closer to the end, I'll be moving you out of the back over there. We're gonna have Matt Mac up here as entertainment eventually. And there was one other thing. Oh, if you haven't registered yet, please do so. If you do not have a lanyard on, you will not be able to get into a workshop. There are still some people who are here, but they haven't registered yet, which is fine. But please make sure you check in with registration or you won't be able to get into a workshop. Okay, that's my bowing. Thank you so much for coming, and I'll hand it back to Jason.
Thank you, Mike. What great essays by those young people there talking about the needs in schools and highlighting a little bit of inclusive education and some of the supports that staff that can provide in that capacity. Okay, so we got salad that will be served at 11:45, and that's about it. You know what? I was thinking a little bit about, MF NERC, languages and cultures. And those definitions of why language is important. Language, how it affects how it gives you a worldview. And in Ojibwe, the word for language, Inwe Win, where sound comes from. I got to thank my coworkers, Annie Boulanger, for helping with that thought process. But also, cultures. What is our word for cultures? Because you know what, we're all part of car culture, mall culture, mining culture. We all have this. When we started teaching, when teachers started teaching 30 years ago, when MF NERC was first established, there was no QR codes, there was no cell phones to the capacity that we see today. This is a little example of how culture evolves. And we as educators, how are we gonna adjust our behaviors to carry on into the future? So, then the word, as I was told, for culture, inat to win, our behavior, or if it's in a singular term, inat to what somebody does. So when you think of that word, inat to bemat to win, bimi is movement, like bimose, walking, bimi batu, running. Bimat Dizawin is changing, but it's life too. So it's interesting to look at the way words are structured and how they come together. I think as educators, we all want minnow Bimadizawin for our students and for ourselves. And that education process is, it's a big part of how we're gonna get there. So, there's things we heard Courtney talking, our keynote speaker, talking about education. Like we make a lot of space for Western education, but what about our own languages and cultures? How are we going to bring that into the classrooms, into the community? how are we going to make that space for our knowledge keepers and that. You know, one of the highlights for myself this year was visiting Fisher River at the goose camp that they had. One of our coworkers, Richard Allen Keeper, did an excellent job talking about the Fisher constellation, the Big Dipper, and the story to that, and trying to install a different way of looking at the stars. For like we all know Big Dipper, but ever since I learned that Fisher story, I myself I never look at the Big Dipper and the same. I always think of that Fisher story now, and you know, there's going to be a lot of workshops that I encourage you to go and check out. And you know what? I want to put a question out to you guys as educators. Something that's been sort of on my mind. The word cultures. You know, it's always changing, evolving. What about heritage? What does heritage mean to you? What is that something that's just brought in from other countries, or do we have? What does heritage look like to us when we talk about these things? For example, who's heard of the Wasagi Jack's chair up north? That could be a heritage site, but of course, Manitoba Hydro destroyed that area. Another heritage site that's close by, the Bannock Point Petroforms in Whiteshell. You know, I one of my uncles actually just passed away, and I was thinking about a visit that we made to Whiteshell a few years back. My uncle Ronald Bone had passed away, but my uncle Wilford told my uncle Wally that he had a dream about Ronald. So we went to the Whiteshell, and we smoked our pipes. We left an offering there for the little people, and I was thinking about how that space over there, it's not treated well. People have desecrated those rocks, moved them around. That site is an old site. It's older than the pyramids. You know, the reason why I'm bringing up heritage is because I think we need more heritage sites and these places to educate ourselves, our young people. What does that word Manitou Abe mean to you? You know, where the spirit sits. You know, there's a lot of history here in Manitoba, and it's a neat time in education to now be having control of our education and putting these different stories out there. Even the place we're at right now, what was here before? We were at the bottom of a lake, and there's, you know, that's part of the science fair. We're trying to use Nana Bajou, Wasagi Jack, as the original researcher and retrace our footsteps with one of our original researchers, our greatest of uncles, to learn from Nana Bajou. He made many mistakes, and there was a place close by in the stories, Turtle Island, there's a real place here in Manitoba, Turtle Mountain. And in that place, that's where Nana Bajou, at least the way I was taught, that's where he learned his place here in the world. Anishinaabe, Ani, Anishinaabe, where the animals told him, you were lowered from above and you're not from here. You're a visitor to this planet. That's why you need fur to survive. That's why. So we talked about that education, and we want to put these different ways of looking at the world into the minds of young people and educators to share with our children, but also everybody else. The Treaty Commission has done a good job at. They have a new interpretive learning center at the Forks. We've done some capacity building there this year with teachers. We've hosted some science fairs. We've had other meetings there. So there's some good things going on, and I'm happy to be a part of education and interested to see where it's going to go in the next 25 years, what's going to be used and whatnot. So that's my question to you guys. What does heritage mean to you? And I'll be around. We'll talk more about that. I got some more thoughts on heritage that I'll revisit later on. But so for now, we're getting ready for lunch, and that's about it. So enjoy each other's company, visit, and we shall reconvene into our sessions after lunch. Again, just make sure you got your name tag, you're registered, and we still have that cell phone up here too. So, okay, so have a good lunch.
All right, they're going to be serving out salad pretty quick. You can see them coming. So if you're out there in the hotel somewhere, lunch is being served. Come on back. That phone, is this the? Okay. And the other thing. Okay. Can we offer Wally Tobacco to do the opening, to do the lunch prayer?
Yeah.
And if he doesn't want to, just maybe ask Philip.
Last one.
Yeah. I'll grab some tobacco.
Okay, so just a reminder, we got cell phone's right there. So we have some great entertainment lined up for you during lunch. I don't know if you guys know who Matt Mack is, but he's from Garden Hill First Nation, and Matt Mack has been blind from birth. And he's really gifted in his music. So we'll I'll introduce him better before we bring him up here too. But salads are coming out now. I'm gonna offer tobacco to my my elder, my Uncle Wally here, to say a prayer for us before we have lunch. Okay. So Matt Mack has been blind from birth. He began to struggle with depression at a young age and credits music to helping him cope. A fully self-taught artist, he started making beats and writing songs when he was 13 years old and later taught himself piano and guitar. Matt Mack launched into the music scene in 2016 when Noed Chinan, a traveling music studio program, visited his First Nation and invited him to collaborate on a project. Pulling inspiration from his personal story, they created a song and video entitled Help You See, which has been watched nearly 250,000 times on YouTube and Facebook. He performed along international artist Nelly Furtado at Indigenous Day Live and We Day Canada in 2017. They continue to work together. Matt Mack hopes to continue using music to inspire others to know that they can accomplish anything they set their mind to. So let's put our hands together for Matt Mack. And here you go.
Hello, hello, good afternoon. Hey. What's going on, everyone? How is everyone doing today? Whoa, whoa. Come on, let's try this. Hey, how's everyone doing today, yo? Nice, nice, nice. That's the vibe. Nice, I like that. That's so much better. We're getting there. I like that. So, for some of you guys who don't know, my name is Matt Mack. I'm originally from Garden Hill, the Island Lake area. Hold up. You got where did you go? All right, cool. Cool. Yeah, we're getting nothing from here.
Bing.
Check. Yeah, can we turn down the monitors just a bit? Check 1 2 1 2. Check check check. Check 1 2. Just a bit more. Yeah, the monitors. Yeah. Check. Yeah, check 1 2. All right, cool. You're not supposed to.
Ming, there's nothing playing on from the computer.
Check 1 2. Yeah. Check. 1 2 1 2. Yeah. Hold on, yeah, I apologize for the technical difficulties. We moving. So how's everyone's day so far? Yeah? There's a couple of old faces. I think there's a couple of faces in here. Y'all know who you are. Always good to see you again. Whoa. All right, we got something. Okay, we moving. All right. Okay, so we about to get this performance started. This one is called Skull for a Ride. For those of you who don't know, my name is Matt Mac, y'all. Let's get this lunch hour started. Yeah.
I'm still on the res and I'm getting my pay. Being a crew, yeah, we making way. You better get used to it, I'm here to stay. Smoking this dude, get out of my way. I'm catching a flight to WPG, yeah, I'm used to it. I hit up my manager, I tell him, bro, I'm gonna go make a deposit. I'm making a living, don't know why you're hating, not just for my family to eat. I keep to myself and I'm making my profits, I know that they hating on me. Dispensary flower got me on the cloud, so now I'm just sipping my tea. I do what I can just to provide. She be like, damn, so for a ride. Let me just flex on my self-care. I'm only no one else here. Finally off of that welfare. The second up, hell yeah. He's hoping these songs will sell, yeah. Got enough fire to melt ya. I'll be making these beats, feeding the flame.
If you don't know me, don't speak on my name.
Just came in the game and I'm living my dream. Been doing this every day, literally.
Yeah, they say, yo, Mac, go and get a degree.
I just get busy and diligently. Mama be proud whatever's gonna be. She know that thousands are listening to me. To anyone out there who didn't believe, I'm big like a turtle, I'm getting the green. Coming through the set. What up to the fam? They're repping for the rest to put us on the map. They knowing that I'm a threat. Been executing plans to be remembered as the best. Taking it all and nothing less. I'm still on the res and I'm getting my pay. Being a crew, yeah, we making way. You better get used to it, I'm here to stay. Smoking this dude, get out of my way. I'm catching a flight to WPG, yeah, I'm used to it. I hit up my manager, I tell him, bro, I'm gonna go make a deposit. I'm making a living, don't know why you're hating, not just for my family to eat. I keep to myself and I'm making my profits, I know that they hating on me. Dispensary flower got me on the cloud, so now I'm just sipping my tea. I do what I can just to provide.
She be like this,
go for a ride. Living it up, running the checks, I'm just having my fun. She tryna come in and sip from my cup. She know that man might be getting the books. I need some more notes, never enough. I got running up till the start. Chat for a minute, I had her in love. She came in with you, but we had it with.
They don't know I'm focused.
I couldn't see what I begun to anyone who ghosted. When I used to get no love, I was alone and hopeless. But now I'm finally grown up, just wanna be the dopest. Cause this music's like a drug coming through the set. What up to the fam? They're repping for the rest to put us on the map. They knowing that I'm a threat. Been executing plans to be remembered as the best. Taking it all and nothing less. I'm still on the res and I'm getting my pay. Being a crew, yeah, we making way. You better get used to it, I'm here to stay. Smoking this dude, get out of my way. I'm catching a flight to WPG, yeah, I'm used to it. I hit up my manager, I tell him, bro, I'm gonna go make a deposit. I'm making a living, don't know why you're hating, not just for my family to eat. I keep to myself and I'm making my profits, I know that they hating on me. Dispensary flower got me on the clouds, so now I'm just sipping my tea. I do what I can just to provide. She be like, damn, let's go for a ride.
Run this shit up.
That was called Skull for a Ride. How's y'all feeling? Wonderful. Very, very wonderful. I like the energy in here. It feels good.
That's Matt Mac.
You know, this next one is off of my 2020 project. Remember 2020? The year of isolation. This next one talks about it a little bit. This next record talks about it. Touches on the isolation and the things that we kind of go through in our head. This one's for the ones who know. Yeah.
trying to get away from this place. Lately I've been feeling out of place. I'm thinking about a path I can't erase. Focus on a dream I chase. I can't let go now. I wanna feel your embrace, feel your embrace. I can't let go now, ay, I can't let go now. Trying to get away from this place. Lately I've been feeling out of place. I'm thinking about a past I can't erase. Focus on a dream I chase. I can't let go now. I wanna feel your embrace, feel your embrace. Yeah, I can't let go now. I can't let go now. Yeah, I'm stuck inside this place. I gotta make it on my own. Too much isolation and it let me feel alone. Too much isolation, so you still know. You take the pill every time you coming. Yeah, problems getting worse. Now you're calling me a jerk. You can't even see my effort as I'm putting in this work. Tell me how it get here in the first place. Screaming my lungs out, don't know if no hurt. Yeah, with the pressure, all the stress upon me. I've been dealing with some extra. The one stay close, so I know keep a sweater. Gotta keep an eye out for the ones that wanna set us up. I know what you're trying to do and I can never let you. They see success on me, they know I'm next up. Got all the sweat on me, they run each checks up. Hey, it's being us, you can't forget us. But I still feel stuck, no focus. Problems added up, make a hard cope. Don't wanna leave all my emotions in the open. Feeling like I'm drowning, supposed to be floating. They say all things come to pass. And so lately I've been feeling numb to that. I only hope my emotions last. I'm running full speed, going fast. And I'm trying to get away from this place. Lately I've been feeling out of place. I'm thinking about the past I can't erase. Focus on a dream I chase. I can't let go now, yeah. I wanna feel your embrace, feel your embrace. I can't let go now, I can't let go now. Trying to get away from this place. Lately I've been feeling out of place. I'm thinking about the past I can't erase. Focus on a dream I chase. I can't let go now. I wanna feel your embrace, feel your embrace. I can't let go now, yeah. I can't let go now. Yeah. For the 2020, that was called Embrace. All right, so this next song I'm gonna be performing is the one I like to call it's actually one of my favorite ones to perform because this song is kind of part two on what I was kind of touching on the last record there. So this next one is this song is the first single off of my my last album that I dropped. It's called Blurred Visions. And speaking of Blurred Visions, if you want to support what I'm doing and everything else, I just actually like to make a quick announcement. If you go to Mac Music Online, I actually have limited edition merch. There's like we talking on some t-shirts, sweaters, so you don't have to feel so awkward walking up to a concession stand and be like, "Hey, can I get this? Sweater over there?" So you don't have to feel so awkward about walking up to a concession stand and try to figure out what merch you want. Hey, can I get this red Blurred Visions hoodie? You get what? What do you want? You don't have to feel awkward about it. So the it is limited edition. It's on matmatmusic.com. And it is in collaboration with Okima. So if you support the movement, go ahead and get yours there for sure. And this next song comes off of that album for sure. This one is touching on isolation for sure. I wrote this when I was literally on the res. This was like 6 months before I moved out. This one's talking on a little bit about struggle
But yeah, this one's for all of y'all. So yeah, let's get to it. This one's called Isolation. So
Yeah. 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 Is that Matt Knight with that song?
yeah. How y'all feeling so far, yo? Hey, hey. Yeah. Yeah. Hey. I just feel leveling when they got this money, now I'm golden. They talk on me, but I ain't hear a word what they say. I just went and got this paper, make any moves, I'm just trying to get my pay up. Yeah, I on a prize, I'm just living for the moment. I keep it real indigenous, I tell her come on scope. Coming from the rest, never deal with this isolation. Standing up bed, now they see my song cross. Yeah, cut a mic on and they hearing me. Nowadays the fans have been there on my experience. Sometimes I still got problems, so help with you. Help my insecurity, but they'll help them clear things. Still ain't trusting nobody. They say they love me on breath and try to talk about me. Family been depending on me, gotta make sure they eat. Want my faith on their day to day, cause we sure can't see. I graduated and now my mama says she proud of me. So many behind me look up to me, I gotta make it. Catching these flights from alone, feel like I can take it. Out of my zone, strong, got me fading. Yeah. When they got this money, now I'm golden. They talk on me, but I ain't hear a word what they saying. I just went and got this paper, make any moves, I'm just trying to get my pay up. Yeah, I on a prize, I'm just living for the moment. I keep it real indigenous, I try to come and school. Coming from the rest, had to deal with us. Setting on his bread, now let's sing a song across the nations. Hold up. I need to do this verse one more time, this last verse here. I graduated, yeah. I'm nobody. They say they love me and one brother try to talk about me. Family been dependent on me, gonna share they eat. This one for my teachers and everybody. I graduated and now my mama says she proud of me. So many behind me look up to me, I gotta make it. Catch any flights from alone, feel like I can take it. Out of my zone, strong, got me faded. Yeah. When they got this money, now I'm golden. They talk on me, but I ain't hear a word what they say. I just went and got this paper, make any moves, I'm just trying to get my pay up. Yeah, I on a prize, I'm just living for the moment. I keep it real indigenous, I tell her come on. Yeah, coming from the rest, had to deal with all this ice. Second all this bread, now they see my son crossing. I've been filming city to city. Imagine what I'm making, all this pain, drama, and envy. Imagine what I'm facing. When legit started a business, see, I see why they get your own, get on your mission. See, all it takes is patience. I'm so blind and famous, that's my occupation, yeah. No, it ain't no changing in this operation, well, I just met you, baby, now I'm on the playlist. I just met you, baby, now I'm on the When they wrote this, I was walking on the reservation. Now they can't say that we not up in a conversation. Did this stuff for Winnipeg, the one that gotta shake it. Yeah, I just be leveling. When they got this money, now I'm golden. They talk on me, but I hear a word what they say. I just when they got this paper, make any moves, I'm just trying to get my pay up. Yeah, I on the prize, I'm just living for the moment. I keep it real indigenous until I come on school. Coming from the rest, how they deal with all this isolation. Yeah, I just be leveling. When they got this money, now I'm golden. They talk on me, but I ain't hear a word what they say. I just when they got this paper, make any moves, I'm just trying to get my pay up. Yeah, I on the prize, I'm just living for the moment. I keep it real indigenous, I tell her come on school. Coming from the rest, how they deal with all this isolation. Second house bread, now they sing a song across the nations. Yeah. Man. Wow. Is that the salad you guys are eating? All of that is coming towards the stage. I appreciate you guys for sharing your food vibes with me. I really appreciate that. Okay, can I ask you guys a quick question? Yo, can I ask you guys a quick question? So, hear me out. I'm currently working on my new album right now, and I have this one song that I'm really in love with right now. It's an unreleased song. Do you mind if I play that for y'all tonight or today? It's a very new song, a very unheard. This one is a deep one for sure. All right. All right, so this one is called Give It Time. This one's gonna be up on my next album. This one's for y'all.
Damn, man, you crazy for this one, bro. I've been waiting for my time to come. Been going crazy and my mind is numb. The light is fading 'cause we're dying young. This life's amazing, feels like I am lost. Just give it time, and I'll be fine. Yeah. This life is like a race that I don't wanna run. Every day is like a life without the sun. Some people tell me that I knew what I'd become. Some people never understand where I'm from. When I look back, there's so much that I've done, yeah, to only end up where the journey had begun, yeah. Celebration, but it ain't about the fun, yeah. I'm breaking circles while I'm holding on a grudge, yeah. Been feeling lost, I don't know who to trust, because I can't help but thinking I feel stuck. Now you wonder why I'm calling up the plug. All these people talking, but there's nothing to discuss. I've been waiting for my time to come. Been going crazy and my mind is numb. The light is fading 'cause we're dying young. This life's amazing, feels like I am lost. Just give it time, and I'll be fine. Yeah.
That's how y'all get it. How's it going? How y'all? Let's keep the vibes going for now, y'all. Let's keep it going. This one is called Income. This is off of. This one is definitely off of Blurred Visions for sure. This one's for y'all. Let's keep it going.
Yeah. Get that beat, yeah. Been working for the finer things, yeah. My mom got me this, but I'm still a kid who's living that dream, yeah. Been grinding and I'm trying to live, yeah. Make my mind again, been busy trying to win. I say to you, what would you do? So let me show you my truth, yeah. You gotta get a kilo, yeah. 'Cause the outcome is the income, yeah. So many try to put me down, yeah. Voices all around, yeah. Try to hide it with the sounds, but couldn't find my way out, yeah. The enemy in my mind, yeah, was telling me I was blind. The need was to die without a chance I would rise. But the passion in my soul, it put some action in my scope. Now I'm stacking all of this stone. It's stay in and stay out. I'm getting that beat, yeah. Been working for the finer things, yeah. Man, my time it is, but I'm still a kid who's living that dream, yeah. Been grinding and I'm trying to live, yeah. Man, my money get been busy trying to win, yeah. I say to you, what would you do? So let me show you my truth, yeah. You gotta get a kid of love, 'cause the outcome is the income. So many try to throw the shake, yeah. But I ain't hear what they saying, yeah. I just came to entertain, yeah. Well, try to get out of my brain, oh. Be the melody that I feel, brings the energy that's real, yeah. A remedy that can heal, clown trying to stack a meal, yeah. But the passion in my soul, it put some action in my scope. Now I'm stacking all this dough, yeah. It's day in, it's day out. I'm getting that green, yeah. Been working for the finer things, yeah. I know what time it is, but I'm still a kid who's living that dream, yeah. Been grinding and I'm trying to live, yeah. I'm in my morning, getting busy trying to win, yeah. I say to you, what would you do? So let me show you my truth, yeah. You gotta get a kid of love, yeah. Cause the outcome is the income.
How y'all feeling? Wow. How y'all feeling, y'all, so far? Yeah. All right, so just so we don't get too tired, let's get into some different vibes. This is also off of Blurred Visions. Just one on a more personal level.
Yeah, yeah. I know you feel the pressure when they talk on my name. Started talking to you, now you stuck in my brain. I got bills coming in, but I just wanted you to know. Ain't no nothing like you, stay with me, now come through. I got trust issues and I'm trying to get over them. Trying to get you out the zone, I just want to be more than friends. It's hoping you understand, I just want what's best for you. Man, no one out there like you, stay with me, now come through. Sometimes I lose my focus, stack these checks down my day. Even though I know I made a few mistakes before, I can't lie, I just hope you don't walk out that door. In my mind you reside and I just want you more. Stay a little longer, I can't let you go. Dive a little like water, all this low air to be drowning my soul. You know that I want it bad, I just don't wanna see you sad. I just don't want you to go away, say before another day. Feel the pressure when they talk on my name. Started talking to you, now you're stuck in my brain. I got bills coming in, but I just want you to know. Ain't no nothing like you, stay with me, now come through. Yeah, trust issues and I'm trying to get over those. Trying to get you out the zone, I just want to be more than friends. It's hoping you understand, I just want what's best for you. Man, no one out there like you, stay with me, now come through. Stay a little longer, I just want this to last. So try to make the best of it, cause time goes by fast. Texting back and forth, you hitting me up on my phone. You telling me you hate it when I leave you alone. I don't want the night to end, by my side you lay again. Yeah, they keep on talking, but I'm dumb, I don't wanna play pretend. It's just me and you against the world this time. It feels so right when you spend the night. I know you feel the pressure when they talk on my name. Started talking to you, now you're stuck in my brain. I got bills coming in, but I just wanted you to know. Ain't no nothing like you, stay with me, don't come through. Yeah, trust issues and I'm trying to get over those. Trying to get you out the zone, I just want to be more than friends. It's hoping you understand, I just want what's best for you. Man, no one out there like you, stay with me, don't come through. Yeah, yeah. Man, no one out there like you, stay with me, don't come through. Ooh, yeah. Man, no one out there like you, stay with me, don't come through. Yeah. Man, no one out there like you, stay with me, don't come through.
Here's a bit of an oldie.
Yeah.
Taking it back to 2020, 2019. Some different vibes, switching it up for you guys right now.
Yeah. I couldn't change my fears, so my mistakes became your tears. I didn't see throughout the years that I was free when you were near. So many things did come to mind. The memories, I wanna run and hide. I don't have the words, my tongue is tied, yeah. Couldn't see your love if I wasn't. I didn't realize I was hurting you, and all this time I just needed you. You was right there when nobody else could have been. I know that I messed up real bad, but I just want you to see. I've held on to you, girl, like you was a piece of me. I know that this might seem crazy, but I've been thinking about you lately. Me calling you my baby. Damn. All of the things I was said, all of the things I went through, then I knew that you wasn't through, you were still there. Yeah. Then I knew you were still there. Yeah. Then I knew that you wasn't through, you were still there. Yeah. I felt shame. It was my fault. I'm the one to blame. I feel the hurt, the ghost are willing up in flames. I'm struggling with the thoughts, I can't take the pain. But when I think back, I know I made you cry. But somehow the memories are staying alive. I don't have the words, we came alive. Can you see me completely out? I didn't realize I was hurting you, and all this time I just needed you. You was right there when nobody else could have been. I know that I messed up real bad, but girl, I just want you to see. I hold on to you, girl, like you was a piece of me. I know that this might seem crazy, but I've been thinking about you lately. Me calling you my baby. Yeah. All of the things I was said, all of the things I was. Then I knew that you wasn't through, you were still there. Yeah. Then I knew you were still there. Then I knew that you wasn't through, you were still there. 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 Then I knew you were still there.
Man, so I know you're enjoying food and all, but do this for Manitoba First Nations Education Center, and it's so amazing that the fact that they're having this event, and literally like when I was walking in, they was getting up to the essays, and I was like super impressed because we need more of that kind of mindset in those type of schools for real. So give yourselves a round of applause for what y'all doing today, y'all, for real. Not only that, but give another round of applause for everybody who's putting this all together. They're working hard just for y'all, for real. Yeah, we're gonna keep the vibe going. This next one is called What We Could Be. This one's off of my Blurred Visions album. It was released last year. We're gonna keep the vibes going for real. Again, I really appreciate you guys for having me. Let's go.
Yeah. She give me her time, that's all that I need. I think about us and what we could be. I try not to get ahead of myself, cause I can't afford a trip back to hell. You help me ease the pain when it's stress that I deal with. Demons in my brain trying to find a way to fix this. These thoughts getting crowded when you in my head. I keep thinking of scenarios with you on my bed. Wondering where this will take us. Catch a vibe late night, don't wanna rush this. Alone with my thoughts when you say a call back. Eyes Asian blazing up, blowing good. What? I've been trying to make a living, I've been following my dreams. I get life, but this fast life ain't what it seems. Cloud nine surfing in the studio. Yeah, ballin', take a hit, girl, you doing just fine. Don't keep it easily, I just want your company. All about your energy, I just want you next to me. I tell myself that I wouldn't get too close. She give me her time, that's all that I need. I think about us and what we could be. I try not to get ahead of myself, cause I can't afford a trip back to hell. You help me ease the pain and the stress that I deal with. Demons in my brain trying to find a way to fix this. These thoughts getting crowded with. That's all that I need. I think about us and what we could be. I try not to get ahead of myself.
coming up. So hope that hope the music and the food gave you guys a bit of energy to continue on the rest of your day. But for now, I have this one song that I recorded about a little over 2 years ago. I'll tell you about this one song. Crazy because I wasn't even supposed to. I made the beat and I had given it to one of my artists. I was working with a couple of artists from down south in Atlanta, and I had given the artist this beat, and Christmas Day came around, and I was feeling. How much time we got? Hold on, let me say. No, how much time we got?
Let me see. We got some time.
All right. But I'm gonna explain a little bit about the song. I recorded a song on Christmas Day, and the funny thing is that this song is it really gives off this summer vibe. I released it on my birthday of 2020. It's crazy because we released a video way after, and this was actually one of my first songs to hit #1 on the Indigenous Music Countdown. So yeah, so and it also got a lot of airplay here up in Winnipeg, Manitoba. So yeah, but I'm gonna perform this next one for you guys. Got like 2 more songs for you guys. Hope you guys enjoy this one. This one's called Paradise.
Making vibes. Oh yeah, When I'm with you, I'm in paradise, paradise. I swear my eyes are paralyzed, paralyzed. Cause with you, I'm in paradise, paradise. And trust me, that is ratified, ratified. Used to live without a care in life, care in life. And now I am in paradise, paradise. I hold you down, I swear I tried. That you're my only hope, a place where I feel safe, a heart made of gold that I will never change. You're beautiful, I know that I will never. So here's my all for your taking. So every day when I wake up, I can't believe my eyes. I feel like that even still my dreams dead life. I will take your lead. I just want to take some time, just take my time. When I'm with you, I'm in paradise, paradise.
Yo, for some of you guys who don't know, my name is Matt Mac. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, Matt Mac Online. Twitter at That's Matt Mac. You can get my music everywhere, Matt Mac, MATTMAC. I really appreciate you guys for having me. MF Nurk, you guys are amazing, yo. You guys, everyone in here, you guys are super amazing. Thank you so much. Peace out, yo.
Damn, I'll just straight up cook this one.
That's Matt Mac.
Let's put our hands together for Matt Mac, one of the up-and-coming young talents here in Manitoba. That was excellent. Matt Mac will be right here by the side of the table for some photos and to sign some autographs. We already got one person waiting here for you. We can't be too long. He's got a flight to catch, but you know what? Maybe even just right here. She wants to sign. She wants you to sign it. There's a pen. Yeah, I'll hold your computer. You got it.
Right here?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which way. This is zero. Thank you.
All right, brother. Okay, so I hope everybody had a good lunch. That was some good chicken. I don't know, I can probably cook better, but it'll do. I'm looking at Curtis. Curtis is the cook too. Curtis has to do all the cooking at home. Okay, so we're gonna move along with the agenda. Actually, I just wanted to mention that we have coming up the workshop's coming up, but I just want to make an announcement for a baseball slow pitch tournament that's going to be happening at Little Mountain Ballpark June 7th, and the rain day is June 8th. Mike Thompson and Norbert McCurdy are hoping to have upwards to about 500 people at the tournament. So I'm looking around here. I'm looking for the phys ed teachers there. My friend Jamie. Make sure you get a team in there. And so, okay. So I'm gonna I got Mike here to make a quick announcement. Hang on.
All right, I'd hate to be a heavy, but we need to turn that back third area into classrooms, into workshop rooms. So if you could eat up, we're going to start kicking you out of that back third area so we can turn them into workshop rooms right away. So I'm sorry for that, but yeah, lunch is over.